Hey, and welcome to Matt and Just TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our new White Lotus Season 3 theory discussion. And here we are going right into the direction of what is going to happen with the three friends of Laurie, Kate, and Jaclyn.
Yeah, I mean, things were tense even when they showed up. It felt like friends that still felt like they should be friends, but were taking paths in different directions. We've talked about this a little bit here at the channel. It's something that felt very relatable, I think, to a lot of people where you have that friendship where it's like, nothing really happened where you shouldn't be friends anymore. They're still a nice person. You still like them well enough, but like your life has just gone in a completely different direction and things just aren't working out the way they were. And sometimes you don't want to let go of that friendship because nothing really happened to break it up. However, now we are in this spot where Laurie is really taking a good look at Jaclyn, what Jaclyn's been doing to her over the years since 10th grade, and she is just done with it. So we're here today to talk about the possibility of Laurie just deciding that she has had enough of it and she is setting up Jaclyn to take a very public fall.
Yeah, this is the thing about the White Lotus is that, over a course of a season, they may have some subtle moments, but you look at the finales for some of these shows, they're often not subtle. And I think the idea that we have been building towards something really big with these three women for most of the season, it does not feel like we are just going to end with them having some passive aggressive fight and then they all just go their separate ways and never speak again. There's something that is bigger here, and the idea of Jaclyn having like major life and or career repercussions, that's really interesting.
It is very interesting. And the idea that one of her friends, who seemingly since the 10th grade, she's been using to put down and take away from her to make herself feel better, would be the person to do this now to Jaclyn, feels like sweet, sweet revenge, which is something that I absolutely love watching on TV. It's my favorite.
Well, in this video, we're going to talk about how your favorite thing may very well come to pass with the way in which the show has set things up here moving into the final episodes. But before we go further, hit that subscribe button because we will be here through all of the White Lotus Season 3 to break it down with reviews, theories, previews, so much good stuff. And, we love HBO programming just as you guys do. And so The Last of Us is coming in the near future. We're going to be here as well with multiple videos a week all about that. So hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out.
We are also covering the Yellow Jackets here, and we have the Handmaid's Tale final season coming up. We're going to be covering that here as well. Thank you so much to everyone who has been hitting that subscribe button and sticking with us. It really helps us here at the channel. And if you want more White Lotus, follow us over on our Patreon. We'll have a link for you below. There you will get exclusive videos all about the Pit. We are covering that weekly over there. Bosch Legacy, it is also coming up, and we're going to be covering that there. And Andor, for all you Star Wars fans. Those three shows, they are exclusive to our Patreon. Is the only place that you can get those videos. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined.
Thank you guys so much. And let's just start here by diving a little bit into the foundation for where all of this feuding and or a potential big moment is coming. So if we go back to earlier on this week at the White Lotus in Thailand, we see Jaclyn is really pushing Laurie to end up with Valentine, to hook up with him. And I think her feeling of anger, frustration, and betrayal, it's not necessarily this idea of her having some like deep-seated feelings for Valentine, like this guy she doesn't really know. It's more that this is who Jaclyn pushed her to try to be with. So she tried to get Laurie's hopes up that something could happen here, only to then take all of it away when Jaclyn is the one to do something instead.
Yes, their friendship seems to be based on exactly this. Laurie called it out in this past episode where she was just like, this has been going on since 10th grade. Anytime I have something or something is being brought towards me, you take it away, which is something that should have been left in the 10th grade. It's not something when you're 45 that you're still doing this. And I
Yeah.
think for Laurie, she's just like, wow, nothing has changed. I've always been that. That's what my friendship is with her. And the blinders are off where you kind of think, okay, yeah, I don't like this one thing, but we have all these other great things. And it's been really great, over the years to have this friendship where she's just now realizing where she's like, no, this friendship is this. Jackie uses me to feel better about herself, that she will push something on me to make me feel good and then take that thing for herself to make herself feel good. And this has been going on for decades now, and it is time for it to be over. Like, she is really over it. And that's where we start to get into what seems to be coming up. So, after everything happened, we have Laurie who's trying to call it out. Jaclyn who's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Laurie's just like, no, I'm not having that. That's just BS. Where originally she didn't want to go to these fights. And now all of a sudden she's changing her mind coming up where she's like, you know what? We're going to go to these fights. Tinfoil hats, everybody.
All right, here we go.
Valentine is going to be at these fights. So what I think Laurie is pushing for is to catch Valentine and Jaclyn in some sort of an act where they're either kissing or holding hands or hooking up or glances, just enough that she can be like, click, I am going to sell this to the highest bidder in the tabloids. I am going to send this to her man. Everybody's going to see this. It is time. I'm going to take something from you.
Yeah, like there's two like extra big reasons why Laurie has to be so upset about this beyond just the past and everything that happened. I mean, number one, it is the idea that Jaclyn's already in a relationship. Like, she has a man.
Yes.
And so Laurie's probably thinking like, okay, you are willing to do this, even though you have a relationship, just to make me feel this way. It's just like, that is how morally just terrible of a person you are. And then you're lying to me on top of all of it. You're treating me like I am dumb, despite the fact that I may not be a celebrity, but I have a very prominent career. Like, I have had some success in my life here. I'm not stupid. I'm going to find a way to prove something to you. So that's why, to me, it's realistic that she would then try to do something like this, because there's no other way that Jaclyn is ever going to learn. And I don't think Laurie's at a place right now where she is just like, okay, I need to salvage this friendship no matter what, because I think she's just like, no, this is somebody who's making me feel the same way that I did when I was a teenager. Like, I don't need this anymore. I don't want this anymore. I'm just going to try to find a way to end it.
Yeah, and Laurie's also been through a divorce, and anyone out there who's been through a divorce know how difficult that is. And if you can get out of that situation and on the other side where you're like, yep, I'm rebuilding myself, feeling good, cutting off someone like Jaclyn is an easier step than that. Yes, they have been friends for a while, but they haven't been in touch for a couple of years. Like, it feels like it's been very more surface for a while now. So at this point, it feels like Laurie is strong enough where she's like, okay, I've gotten out of this marriage. I've gone through this divorce. Absolutely heartbreaking. I can let this go too. I am in my 40s. It is enough. I am totally done with people treating me like trash. And if I'm not going to go through this with someone that I'm married to, I'm certainly not going to go through this with Jaclyn anymore.
I think the biggest, most interesting question is, let's say all of this does happen over the course of this next episode. Laurie has this big plan, manages to get everybody to go to this fight, which we have said we really want this to happen for multiple reasons. You get Valentine there, you get you get everybody there, you get Vlad, Alexei, like the whole crew is turning up to cause more of a mess. But then there's the question of, okay, is this actually going to work? Because this is going to be the tricky part of it, where if you are Laurie, maybe you want to try to entice Jaclyn to do something, have a moment, make something happen. But is she going to be more on her guard now? Because, this is a reasonably public place. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I am an expert on fights. I do not know how popular these things are. The only time I know about when you have big high-level fights or when they involve, some random YouTuber who's decided that they want to get into this stuff. Like, I don't know how prominent an event this is where Jaclyn is going to be like so worried about her image, or if she touches, Vlad, I'm not Vlad, she touches our other, shall we say,
Valentine, yeah.
Valentine. I can never remember Valentine's name, but if she touches Valentine, and like, is that going to blow up on social media?
I always want to call him Valentine.
I don't know.
Always.
I can remember Vlad, who has had 5 seconds of
What?
airtime on this season, like no problem. I cannot remember Valentine's name for the life of me.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to sort of see how it's played out
Yeah,
because while Laurie has been sort of trying to call out Jaclyn, and Jaclyn's like, "Oh, I don't like this. This is not
yeah,
okay." And even in private later with Kate is like, "I don't know what the problem is. Like
yeah.
nothing happened," sort of thing. And she's really trying to keep this image tight. She might be, who knows, given alcohol or something, some other substance or whatever that we've seen on the show. Maybe it'll be poisonous fruit
Yeah.
craziness that goes on. I'm just kidding. But maybe she'll just find herself that it's really her own ego that just gets in her way. And it feels like because that's what this has been about, that Jaclyn's like, oh, I'll set Laurie up to then take this thing for her so I feel better about myself. Maybe they'll show up there. Laurie will be flirting with him, being like whatever with him, and Jaclyn will want to take it. And that'll be the thing that where she can be like, click.
I think there's a really good chance that this happens just because, yeah, ego is a driving force for Jaclyn and a lot of things. And while I would think if you are a celebrity, you have more of this like buttoned up sense of responsibility that anytime you're in public, you're going to be careful. At the same time, they were in public earlier this season when they were doing, the whole nightclub party tour.
Right.
And yeah, that's a little bit different than going to a fight because you're all packed in like sardines into a small space and maybe it's harder to detect people, but you still did it. And if you develop like this sense of unstoppability when you're a celebrity, that nothing can happen to you, that maybe you do let your guard down in a way in which you wouldn't otherwise.
Well, they're also trying to kind of be like, oh, she's this washed up celebrity. So she
Yeah.
still has some fame from doing stuff on TV, but she's not Brad Pitt, right? Like
Yeah.
she's not an A-list celebrity where she can't go somewhere without security or being mobbed. Like she's not being mobbed where she is. She went out for the night. Nobody's mobbing her. So she is a celebrity, but it feels like she's, maybe not at the top of her fame anymore. She was never as high as like a Brad Pitt or something like that. Then maybe she thinks she can get away with it. They're also been playing up this whole like, what happens in Thailand stays in Thailand so many
Yeah.
times that maybe she's just like, yeah, okay, well, what happens out here, we'll just stay out here and nobody's really gonna do anything about it. So it'll just be fine, no problem. I just think her ego is just gonna get in the way of everything, that now that she's actually hooked up with Valentine, that it's going to be if Laurie's kind of flirting with him or holding his hand or kissing him or touching him, that Jaclyn just will not be able to stop herself.
And where I think these consequences could loom even larger, I'll put another tinfoil hat on
Okay.
here, is that earlier this season, Jaclyn's been recognized, multiple times. But one of the most prominent moments of Jaclyn being recognized is when Valentine recommended that they go to this other place and there was a bunch of old people there. And
Right.
that to me suggests that, okay, maybe Jaclyn's TV career right now involves being on a show that maybe has a little bit of an older audience. And
Yeah,
this,
she's the agent on NCIS.
yeah, and if a show has an older audience, that tends to mean in some points that they're more set in terms of what they believe people should or should not do in life. And they
Right.
could then be much more judgmental on this idea that, okay, Jaclyn is having a affair with some random guy in Thailand. Like this could
While she's with somebody else.
yeah, like this could be a lot more detrimental to her career than
Mhm.
maybe, say, a young TikTok star or
Right.
something like that that's got a little bit of a much younger following. Her
A
career
little
path.
more forgiving.
Yeah, her career path may be a little bit more limited, but this all then goes to another question where it's like, okay, this all happens. Laurie blows up Jaclyn's life. What does Jaclyn do in response to all this? Because here's the thing. I don't
She eats it. Because what else are you gonna do? You get what you deserve.
Well, this is the funny thing, is this is why I've struggled with this storyline more than probably any other this season. Not because it's not good, because it is, but because we have spent all season talking about, okay, what's going to happen with this carnage at the hotel that we saw in the premiere. And I've never for even a split second thought that these three women were involved in that. And even to this point, like, I still don't. Like, I just don't think it's within Jaclyn to then be like, oh, I'm going to try to kill you now because you did this. It just, that doesn't feel like it's her. And I could be surprised.
It depends. I mean, if it's not only ruining her career and it's ruining her relationship with Harrison and it's so public, I mean, unfortunately, we have seen situations where huge celebrity public shame does drive people to do really unseemly things. Is it possible that it is Jaclyn and she's trying to take out Laurie for like ruining her life, where she's like, okay, maybe I, took a man or two of yours over the years, but that doesn't equal this, what you've done to me, where you've taken my, finances away from me, my career. I've been publicly shamed. Like, I've lost my man. Like, everything has been taken from me, where you just didn't get to hook up with Valentine, who is nobody.
Yeah, if that happens in the finale and Jacqueline's just going to go completely haywire, this next episode is beyond essential for setting up how that's plausible. Because you look at the rest of the storylines, like, we can see how it could be tied to Rick. We can see how it'd be tied to Greg or Belinda or even the Ratliffs at this point. It's like all of them already have a little bit of plausibility, but if you're going this route with Jaclyn, you have to set it up now.
Right. And it might be that if this is how it plays out, where Laurie really ruins her life and she's like, oh, you're going to ruin me. Well, I'm going to kill you. If it turns out that it's out in a public space, this is where guy talk can also come in, and it starts to kind of be two people that don't know how to use guns turning into something that's a bit wild, where you've got her trying to shoot at Laurie, missing, maybe shooting Kate, something else is happening, guy talk is coming in, trying to shoot her, shooting somebody else. Like, it's not what we think it is.
It's really dark, but at the same time, that is exactly something that the White Lotus would do, where we would have a battle between two people who don't know
how to use their weapons.
And it would be real. And that's why you've got, Zion over here freaking out because hearing all these shots. And I mean, obviously, there's going to be something probably tragic that happens at the end of this season, but it could be really messy and really chaotic if they go this route. It is probably the least expected route, and I think that's also probably something that Mike White would want to celebrate.
I would believe it. If it's really going to be as devastating, where it's not only ruining her marriage, but it's also ruining her finances, her career, she has nothing, then I could see her being like, well, what do I have to lose?
Yeah, and that would set up a really interesting finale where you have a lot of people who may not have a lot to lose, time's winding down. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we've also had a lot of male killers, so I could see Mike White wanting to, change it up.
Yeah, this show needs to have us on our toes, and that's why, I've even said it might be a little bit more of an emotional ending than a comedic one, but this show is comedic at times, so that's still very much in play. But that is where we are with this theory all about Laurie, Jaclyn, and the White Lotus season 3. What do you think that Laurie has planned moving forward? She has to have something planned here, right?
I think so.
Let us know your theories, your thoughts in the comments, and also hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything more. And you can support us more by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We are covering there exclusively The Pit, and we have Bosch Legacy coming up alongside Andor. Thank you guys. We'll see you here next time.